I guess I thought we just started by having everybody introduce themselves and telling us what your function is at Villanova.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Gonna start?
I'll go first. My name is Lindley. I am the Assistant Director of Parking and Transportation. I've been here for about 8.5 years. I have changed quite a bit as far as the shuttles go. And I think it is for the better, so.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Hi, my name is Liesel Schwarz. I'm the Campus Sustainability Manager. I'm housed within the Facilities Department, so I work on physical sustainability initiatives like energy efficiency, LEED buildings, working with parking on sustainable transportation, all those sorts of things. But I also work a lot with students. We do a lot of programming and events, bringing in guest speakers. We'll talk probably about some of those later in the presentation. I also do a lot of partnerships with faculty on sustainability in the curricula, doing guest lectures, but also working to try to incorporate more sustainability curricula options throughout the university, not just in like the sustainability labeled courses. And then finally, we do a lot of communication and outreach. We put out a monthly newsletter, we have social media pages. Also do a lot of reporting to third-party organizations on our progress, so that you don't have to believe me. You can look at the numbers and see for yourself how sustainable we are.
Hello, my name is Motel. I'm the Waste and Recycling Manager for Villanova University. I came on board in June of 2019, so relatively new here, still learning a lot. But my main responsibilities are overseeing the waste removal and recycling operations of the campus, as well as some other logistics projects, small campus moves, and other transportation-related duties. Compliance with our commercial drivers and environmental compliance as well.
Very cool. So I guess the first question we have for you is, and you guys can all answer this, what projects are your teams currently working on to achieve Villanova's sustainability goals? Anybody can start.
I'll start, okay. Back in 2018, we cut the crafts on-campus shuttle. It used to run Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. every day, and after keeping a couple years worth of tallies as far as the students getting on and off of this shuttle, there wasn't much usage at night. So instead of having that bus go through campus to do its loops, continuous loops to 1 a.m., we now stop it at 9 p.m. There's no sense of going through campus, polluting campus. Now we have the Nova Van on demand, which I think the students like because it's like an Uber on campus. I see somebody back there, she must be. We love our Nova Van on demand. The students like it. We use it during the day for our mobility students as well. This way, if there's no transports, they just sit at the Connolly instead of keep running around, and we use a minivan. Right now I have 2 minivans going around campus, and it's just from shuttle stop to shuttle stop. So, it's,
All right, so what are we doing to be sustainable on campus?
Yeah.
Okay. So, piggybacking off of transportation, we are also partnering with parking. We're putting in new electric charging stations for electric drivers on campus. So we're adding more stations on campus. There are new smart stations, so you know what stations are open, so you don't have to drive around campus to try to find an open one. So we're excited for that. And that's being supported by a grant from the state, from EPA. We are also hopefully launching a bike share program this fall with a third-party vendor. The bikes will be electric-assisted bikes, which are really fun to ride if you've never ridden one before. So we're really excited for that, and more details will be coming out over the summer months as we lead into fall. From a programming point of view, we have a couple events coming up. We have a zero waste game, which I think Al's going to talk about. We also have plastic-free Lent for the period of Lent this year. We're encouraging people to reduce their personal plastic consumption. We have a kickoff lunch the 25th of February, the day before Lent starts. So excited for that. Anyone is welcome to come. It's free. You just have to register ahead of time so I can make sure there's enough food. And there won't be plastic at the lunch, obviously. like see here, we have obviously Earth Day stuff coming up. I don't want to necessarily go into like every event that we have. Doing, yeah, I don't know, like how much, do you want to like keep going with like every element?
No, you could just, I
Every
think like
office
a couple
program
of,
is gonna be
yeah.
exciting.
The website has, let you forget tomorrow with it, more to find out.
Oh yeah, there's tons of information on the website. I definitely encourage you to sign up for our newsletter because that every month, it only comes out once a month. You get one email a month, and it will keep you informed of all the things that are coming, all the stuff I just mentioned, as well as other opportunities. If we have positions open in our office for internships, opportunities to do work in the garden. We have a whole garden on campus for students to do research in and volunteer in and get free fresh veggies from, especially in the fall. We're going to do a flower sale in the springtime as a fundraiser. For that, we do have a student group on campus that's focused on sustainability. Applications for that are open right now. It's the Student Sustainability Committee. Applications close at the end of February. So get your applications in now. It's a great opportunity if you want to get more involved on sustainability on campus. I'm going to stop there.
Cool.
All right, so Liesel talked a little bit about the zero waste basketball game. That's our soonest upcoming project that we're working on the 26th of February, Wednesday night. I want to say thank you to all the students that are participating to help volunteer for us to make this event possible. What we're looking to do is divert as much as we can from the trash stream as possible. So we're hoping to capture all of our waste as either being recyclable or compostable. And we worked with the vendor, the food service vendor, catering vendor at the pavilion to source some compostable items instead of single-use plastics. So it's been great partnering with Liesel. She's doing a great job spearheading that event. Some other things we're working on, we have a waste audit we're looking to perform to get a better understanding of what type of waste we're generating on campus, as also as to where it's being generated, so that we can employ better methods of reducing the waste, recycling, and maybe looking at our purchasing habits to see what we can do differently, and making sure that our waste removal operations here are effective. So we're in the ground stages of planning and trying to find a company to partner with to help us perform that. We have a waste uniformity project that we're working on to eliminate some confusion on campus. Prior to 2015, we were a dual stream or multi-stream recycler where we had to sort out the different materials. So paper and fibers needed to go in one container, plastic and glass into another container, and it was separated at the site, but also sorted on campus and then taken to various locations to be recycled. When we switched to single stream recycling in 2015, which means all recyclables can go into one bin. However, the campus hasn't really been transformed to meet that. And it's very confusing to students, faculty, and staff because we still see the bins that say paper only, but we're not sorting anymore. And I think during some of our container audits or container inventories we've done on campus, we've identified, of course, around 70 different waste container types. So we're looking to streamline, create uniformity, not with just the container types that we have, to make sure that they're the right ones, but also update our signage, make it clear, concise, simple, user-friendly, color coding system, pictograms, something that's easily identifiable so people know where to put their waste. There's a lot of students, faculty, and staff here that are trying to do the right thing, but it's challenging because of the infrastructure in place. The waste audit will help us to execute that a little bit better as well. Some other things that we're working on, long term, we're identifying some new vendors to partner with to make recycling of some of our hard to recycle items more accessible. Some examples would be K-cups in offices, which are not recyclable by our current single-stream methods. 3D printer waste. There's a long list of things that we're looking to recycle, and we've been talking to vendors, as well as a new e-waste recycling vendor that is a non-profit organization. So it's going to save us money and hopefully make our electronics waste recycling here on campus a little bit more user-friendly.
I don't know where I heard this, but I heard from someone that like states are looking to like reduce recycling because they have such like a surplus of things to recycle that they can't catch up. Is that true?
In many areas, yes, and it has to do with the recycling markets today. And municipal or state government budgets, because they're usually set for a 12-month period in advance, and the cost of recycling has skyrocketed in the past 2 or 3 years because of foreign policy. At one point, we made money on our recycling here. We would take our paper, plastic, glass, metal to be recycled, and we would get scrap value for that. The materials mined to create new products. And there was a value to it, and the market fell apart a few years ago, and now it actually costs more per ton for us to recycle than it does to just throw something in the trash bin. So a lot of governments don't have the funding because their forecasting was done, a year in advance at a certain price point, or maybe expecting some revenue to come in, and now it's costing more than trash. So they have two choices: raise taxes, which isn't really a popular choice, or abandon recycling programs, and unfortunately that's happening across the country and across the world.
And to just piggyback off of that, that's one of the things we're going to talk about for plastic-free Lent, is really, not using plastic is the best option. Recycling has been kind of this like feel better about yourself kind of like solution, and for a long time it was actually, many of those items were being recycled. But the recycling process isn't perfect. Even back then, there is a decent amount of waste. There's a decent amount of energy that goes into recycling those products. Aluminum is probably the most efficient thing to recycle. But plastics, you lose value in your plastic when you recycle it, so it becomes a less useful material, and so at some point it's just not recyclable anymore. Same with paper, right? You've got like your nice virgin copy paper, and then you've got your newspaper, right? The newspaper is recycled paper. It's flimsy for a reason. So all these things lose value, and so the idea is, instead of, trying to be sustainable by recycling, let's try to be sustainable by reducing and reusing first, and then when all else fails, we try to recycle.
So we're looking a lot at our purchasing habits and what we can do differently on the front end to refuse and reduce first, because recycling isn't that solution anymore. It's an option, but it's not the best option. So we've been having meetings and discussions with dining services about sourcing compostable materials for their dining ware, silverware, things like that, and looking to possibly add a composting stream a little bit more widespread across campus, but it's not very cost effective right now. So there's a lot of interesting things happening because of the dynamics worldwide with the recycling markets. So it's a point where we're trying to figure out what we're going to do next and stay ahead of things.
I think you guys already sort of answered this question, but I'll ask it anyways. What have been some of the challenges you faced while trying to promote sustainability on campus? What are the hard parts of it?
Adoption of some of these practices.
Yeah.
I hear almost every year from students, someone wants to do a reusable container program to reduce waste. That requires a lot of work on the user's end as well as dining's end. And the adoption rate is something that we've been concerned about when we look at other reusable options like mugs and stuff like that. Students aren't as good at returning those or bringing them back. And then obviously there's a back end part as far as washing those. So just making sure that something's a realistic solution for our environment can be challenging.
is changing human behavior a real speed bump in the middle of recycling efforts? And
Or all of these
all
efforts.
these
I mean, so the phrase behavior change is a commonly used phrase in the sustainability world because a lot of this doesn't work unless we change our behaviors, right? We can't continue to use plastic bags when we go to the grocery store. Like, that just needs to end at some point in time. Our meat consumption in this country is way too high. We need to alter that. And these are all things that people are going to have to adjust to. There are alternatives that are, I think, positive alternatives. But you have to change your behaviors and change your expectations of like how things are going to always work.
The parking office actually did that with taking the new LPR system, which is the license plate recognition. We no longer have hang tags for the faculty and staff, which has cut a lot of not just funds, but the plastic. Everybody, it used to be where every year everyone got a new plastic hang tag for their vehicle, and then we went every 3 years. And now with the new,
aren't recyclable.
yeah, now with the new 3-year permit, now that they expired, now we have the LPR, so now faculty and staff, and that's an adjustment because everybody wants their little hang tag, their plastic hang tag, yes.
Well, isn't the hang tag what the people in the gate look for?
Well, they do, but we just put cameras up. You'll notice at each of the gates now we have cameras. It's an LPR fixed reader that is at the gates. They will know whether or not your vehicle is registered to come onto campus. If it's not registered, it will give him a little notification so that when that LPR vehicle goes around, it will find that vehicle and give it a citation. Yes.
So for those of us who don't drive to campus, where we take the train or bike or
Yes.
things like that, there used to be, I think it was on the sustainability website, if I might be wrong, something indicating that, you know, on the occasions when there's some reason when you need to drive from campus, you could ask for a temporary pass just for the day.
And
Is
that's
that still in
fine.
place?
Yes, yes. We have plenty of folks that come over and we just give them a 1-day pass.
And
here
that
or
works
there.
with the LPR.
Yes, because now going forward, we will put your license plate into the system. Or if we don't, say you get the 1-hour pass, if it's just an hour, then the officer, if the car beeps, he will get out and look at it. But his job mainly is for the license plate reader.
So that's still in place. So I
Yes.
think that's a good incentive.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Because there's always occasions where, for some reason, you might need to go.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we need that system
Absolutely.
for vendors that come on site as well.
Yes.
The temporary part.
So what can our students do to help?
Okay.
Go for it. You're
All
ready.
right, transportation, walk or the bike program. Well,
public
another
transit.
van, yeah, public transportation as far as driving. First of all, you're going to save costs of taking the public transportation versus finding a spot, as well as purchasing the permit. As far as, you know, we do have the shuttles that are on campus, so we would prefer the students to use the shuttles instead of Uber. I know there's a lot of students that will Uber from one side of the campus to the other side of campus. It happens all the time. It's unbelievable how many times you'll see Uber on campus. So with that,
I'm hoping the
we're-
bike share helps to address some of those
Yes.
issues because it's really designed for, I mean, you can go off campus for sure, you can take the bikes off campus and bring them back, but my hope is that there'll be an incentive to try to get across campus quickly and easily.
Yes.
And you don't have to like worry about sweating because the electric assisted really makes it much easier than like regular biking.
Okay, which is good.
One thing I'd add is, you know, one thing that students can do is volunteer, be active. A lot of things that we do, we couldn't do without student support, so I'm very grateful for that. There was a lot of great minds and energetic bodies out there that are willing to help, and I guess I couldn't do it without them. So keep doing that, and you know, we'll be able to continue pushing forward with a lot of our initiatives and sustainable projects.
Yeah, so I'd have two things. First is just focusing on reduce and reuse. You know, we all have the ability to reduce waste that we generate, and while it can be more challenging for students who live on campus specifically and rely on the meal plan, it can seem really tough at times, and I completely understand that. But there's always like something in your life that you could at least try to, you know, pick one thing and try to reduce your waste in that area, it makes a big impact. I mean, there's just so much trash, so much of what you use is plastic and it just doesn't go away.
Just as simple as using a reusable container for your drinks.
Yes, but I will also say, you don't need one for every season. And like, get one and use it for 5 years, because it takes more energy to make and dispose of those. And so a lot of times I see, like when we do our move out program, you know, like a Halloween themed one or like a Valentine's Day themed one. I'm like, oh my god. It's not, like, that's not what it's supposed to be used for. And I realize that's not everyone, but you know, just keep it until you lose it or it breaks, one of the two. So reduce and reuse is one of them, and then the other thing is kind of like a little bit with the volunteers, like speak up and say what you would like to see differently. You know, you are all, like, students are the reason why we're all here, right? You pay for our salaries. Like, we don't have a job if you don't come to Villanova, right? So if you want something different and you say it loud enough, people will hear you. There were a number of instances of protests over the past year around renewable energy, and as a result, we haven't officially announced it, but the university has agreed to purchase or signed a contract to purchase 50% renewable energy for the next 3 years. So that's really exciting. I'm excited for this change. There's definitely further to go. There's more that we could do in this area, but that happened because students marched and said something and collectively raised their voices on one single issue. So thank you.
So I'd like to open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions?
I always have questions. Some of my students are here, and we have a class now that is the theme of the class is social impact, and the project for the students is to enter the social impact challenge, which has to do with the goals for sustainability. One of the teams is interested in water, and one is in energy saving or alternative energy sources. And so, can you update us on what's going on in there and what your thoughts are and where you're headed and what students could do with regard to water and energy and alternative sources?
Okay, so water is difficult here because we have a lot of it. We have a lot of fresh water. We are very fortunate. It will definitely be one of the scarce resources that are fought over in the coming decades, but we are fortunate in this area to have a lot of fresh water. Unfortunately, as a result of that, water is very cheap, and so from an economical point of view, it's been difficult to do a lot of efficiency around water itself. That being said, anytime we put in a new fixture, it's always low flow fixtures. We put in the dual flush toilets, automated sinks, all that sort of stuff. You know, when we're redoing kitchen equipment, we put in water efficient fixtures. Shower heads are a big use of water. We also ask that users try to reduce their water usage as well on campus, like taking shorter showers, using full loads for your wash. The majority of your water footprint actually comes from the food that you eat, which people don't always realize. Not to harp on meat, but meat production requires an enormous amount of water. So you can just more than halve your water footprint by eating less meat. It's really incredible. There's a great water footprint calculator if you've never done it. It's mobile friendly. Just like search water footprint calculator.
Free range wild.
Yes, if you kill your own deer, it's slightly better. It's still took a lot of water to make the deer, but deer are a whole other thing too, because they're a nuisance. But so that's my comment on water, I guess. We do a lot with stormwater. We do a lot to try to collect stormwater and handle that responsibly. Because we have a lot of it. It's constant.
Yes.
Even in January and February, when it's supposed to be snowing. Energy. So the energy mix in the state is about a third of coal, nuke, and natural gas. We have very little renewable energy in the state in general. It's in part because of regulations. The state hasn't really required there to be a large mix of renewables, and that has suppressed the renewables markets because one of the more valuable things about the renewables is the renewable energy credits, and if there isn't a requirement in the state, the credits are worthless. It's a very complicated economic system that I feel like will take a while to explain, but it should be something that like the students should explore in the class and understanding the renewable energy market and how it dictates growth in certain sectors. But the cost of renewables has gone down significantly, and companies are starting to find new ways of purchasing renewables that are more economically feasible. Typically power purchase agreements, which is a contract for differences for the most part, which again, I don't know if you guys want me to go into like grave detail on how that works right now, but it's something that you should definitely look into. It allows for long-term contracts of large-scale renewable energy purchases to really make a dent in your energy, your footprint, your carbon footprint from your energy. So the city of Philadelphia, Penn State have both recently signed PPAs. The Temple University is looking to sign one. Lehigh did a partnership with another of the universities. They will be signing one shortly. I'm sure that'll be released shortly as well. And I know Penn is also looking at a long-term PPA. Those are just local institutions, and plenty more have already signed them around the country. So it's a good alternative. Obviously, turning off your lights seems like a simple solution, but it does make an impact. If everyone leaves their lights on all day long, it does, spin the meter. So turn your lights off, put your computers to sleep, unplug your chargers. Those are like basic things that are always helpful as well.
It's a somewhat specific question, but I order a decent amount of catering, and as evidenced, it's wasteful. So I'm just curious, like, what you're doing for the plastic-free lunch. Are there certain vendors I can be using? Like, what can we do better?
So plastic-free lunch, we're partnering with dining specifically. So we're working with them on doing a very specific lunch for us. We are trying to coordinate with dining, with catering specifically on reducing the amount of waste that comes from catered events on campus, but you'd have to use our caterers to get that service. Off-campus caterers, it can be tough. If you have utensils on site and plates on site, you can always request not to have those. But they're always gonna, they're gonna package it in plastic and the cheapest thing that they can bring it to you in. So it's, it is tough with catering to, so I guess order bulk and try to limit the size. It's tough.
Building off of that, I was thinking about your event that you want to run, plastic-free or waste-free basketball game. What are you going to do with dirty plates?
Composting.
Compost. And you'll have to have compostable plastics then? How long does it take for this to compost?
500 years.
With the plastic or the compostable one?
The compostable.
Oh, compostable one? It depends on the compostable method. So how much heat is applied, and it really varies.
Heat takes energy unless it's solar.
Well, there's also the heat given off by the decomposition of
Right.
the organic material. So it really just varies on the method of composting. But,
You do take a decent amount of time. That's why it's not the ideal solution.
yeah.
But it's tough in spaces like that. I mean, we just went to the basketball game last night. There's no feasible way that you give people reusable utensils in that environment. So you either limit them to only finger food, which for the most part is what they hand out, is finger food. Very little that would you need to use a fork or knife with. So that definitely helps to cut down on that waste in general.
One of the things I've been aware of, where I live, we have a single stream, but if you put something like this, happens to get into the single stream, and then it gets to somewhere where somebody's actually going to sort it, the whole bin of stuff is considered contaminated, and they landfill it, and I'm befuddled by that. So that's why I was curious about it.
Yeah. We've been operating on this idea of wishful thinking recycling. Well, maybe it'll be recyclable, and if it's not, someone else will sort it out for us. And the problem is that someone else ended up being a lot of, hardworking people in China, and they were tired of sorting our trash. So they've cracked down. So we have to sort it ourselves. So we just have to be smart about what we're sorting.
Part of the pollution of the dirty manufacturing and the waste left behind by contaminated recycling, and the economy has changed. The pushed for a lot of cleaner industry, and you see the Chinese economy is switching a lot to the tech industry over some of the previous dirty manufacturers.
Yes.
And then they were buying 90 to 95% of the world's recycling material. And then they said, we don't want it anymore. So what happens? It's not getting recycled. Or there just aren't enough domestic markets for the material, which is why the price has gone up substantially for recycling. I mean, we could switch to reusables, but then we talk about water. So like there's always a balancing act. One thing impacts another. So if we switch to reusables, then our water waste goes up. You got to find that balance of that. And that's what we're working through.
Yeah.
Currently on campus, we don't have a way to deal with the dirty clay as compost. We have to trash it.
Correct.
Are you thinking to move towards a compostable bin as well?
We're looking at it, but right now it's not cost effective. Pennsylvania has not mandated composting as a recycling program, and therefore there isn't a lot of competition. There aren't a lot of composters, and the environmental regulations that impact those composters, those commercial composters, are pretty substantial to where the cost of composting just is not a sustainable option yet. But there are other solutions, entertaining the notion of aerobic digesters that can decompose the material and create a slurry that goes into the wastewater, or even possibly harness capture some of the gases given off by the decomposition. It's basically a mechanical stomach with enzymes that break down the material. There are options, and this global recycling market change is so new that everybody worldwide is scrambling to figure out what to do next. So we're on top of listening to those conversations, talking with our colleagues across the state and the world to figure out, hey, what are you trying? Is it working? So it's a trial and error phase that we've got to figure something out.
So I feel like sometimes with all this information, it's easy to get discouraged about our current situation. So what are some things that keep you all hopeful?
Student excitement about wanting to try to find a solution, and willingness to try new things. I think that's one of the joys of working for a university is you get to work with the young minds of the future. And I say this all the time, our product isn't a building, because sometimes people just focus on renewable energy and sustainable building design here. And it's like, no, our product's the student, right? Like the education we provide is the product that we are, or the service that we're providing. And so, if every student doesn't walk away from this university not understanding what sustainability is and the impact that they can have in the industry that they're interested in, I feel like we have failed. And so that's, the impact that we have and the hope that I have is the work that our students will do in the future to address some of these issues. We're always trying new things here. It's a great testing ground. Use this as your laboratory space to do better things in the world beyond.
So if a student wanted to, maybe they had an idea for an initiative, what would be the first thing for them to do to get that initiative off the ground?
Yeah, I get emails all the time from students who have ideas. I meet with them. Depending on what it is, sometimes it's stuff we're already doing. Other times it's new ideas, and so I try to direct them to the right person to talk to. If that's me, obviously I'll work with them, and we'll try to figure out a way to make it a reality. Joining the student groups are a great way to get involved. We have the Student Sustainability Committee that has applications open right now. But we also have lots of other student groups on campus. There's VEG. It's been around for a number of years. I just heard about a business of fashion group now that they're doing some really great events. So if the fashion industry is something you're really interested in, they have a number of events happening over the next couple of months that revolve around sustainability, which is amazing. I'm super excited about that. There's also a new group starting in the Sunrise Movement group. They're planning a couple things for the end of this semester as well. They're more focused on renewable energy, so if that's something you're interested in, just get involved in them. I saw they have a QR code in the bathroom stall here, so you could just scan that and find out more. I don't know if it's in the men's bathroom, but yeah. It's somewhere in the women's bathroom. I was pumped to see that. So yeah, get involved.
Any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for
Thank you for having
taking the
us.
time to come here
Thank you.
and tell us about what's happening at Villanova. This video will be made available on our website, and so we can send it out to the people that work here. But thank you so much.